Hi, and welcome to this new episode of the Values Workshop. This series is actually called Dearly Yours. Uh, I started this series quite some time back, but I have not been getting two guests at one time. I wanted to look at relationships from an angle where the relationship itself wasn't important, but the values shared were important of sorts. Um, and to introspect on what is it that we like about each other if it is not the relationship itself. And it could mean anyone, it could be friends, it could be colleagues, it could be relatives, but I've hardly had 3 or 4 episodes on this series so far. So thank you so much for joining me, Meetal and Bijal. So I would want you to introduce yourself for our guests. So can we start with you, Meetal?
Yeah, sure. So I am Mittal. Me and Bijal together founded Bodhi Vidyalaya in 2018 December. Uh,
Okay.
Before that, I was a happy mother to two children. They are now 10 and 7. And otherwise, before that, I was working with children from career guidance point of view. I was working with teachers, how to make a difference in the classroom. And I was working on developing different aptitudes for children through workshops and games and things like that. So always was associated with children and wanted to make a difference in the field of education where children spend major chunk of their time, and that plays a major role in building them up, and
Yeah.
which was not happening the right way in my perception. And so me and Bijal came together and we initiated Bodhi Vidyalaya from that point of view.
Okay. Thank you so much. Bijal, would you like to tell us something about yourself?
Yes, sure. Thank you so much for inviting us for Value Talk that you're doing. Your initiative is wonderful.
Thank you.
So, yeah, as Mr. said, we started Koti Vidyalaya in 2018 December. Before that, I was working with the corporate world. Simultaneously, always interested into parenting and children. I always kept researching what better can I do as a mother. Before I was a mother and mother also, this education always interested me. I had my research that was going on, and what is an alternative way of educating children? And there was one place where me and Mr. actually met, far from Mumbai, that is in Ahmedabad, where she was doing her set of research and I was doing mine. It was almost like now 12 years before we met. So, yeah, more than a decade. So that's how my interest in education. Otherwise, before that, I was a chartered accountant and I pursued my corporate career as a chartered accountant.
Okay, wonderful. Let me start with the question that you actually asked me. How do I manage my finances, considering that I'm trying to do a lot of things which take up my time and are not remunerative in the financial sense? Uh, okay, I don't think too much about how I go about making my money. I'm very responsible towards it in my head. Uh, a lot of people may not believe it because I'm quite casual. When you talk to me, I will not bother. I do get affected. There were bad months during COVID. I think all of us faced a lot of stress in terms of making ends meet. So there were days when I questioned myself why was I not uh, part of the rat race as much as I should be, considering that I'm experienced. I've been a writer for now more than 20, 25 years. People know me in the industry. If I do a bit of networking, I can get a lot more work. Uh, but I've always chosen to sometimes with circumstances and sometimes because I wanted it like that. I wanted to live my life. If I feel like going, leaving the discussion and going and having a chai by myself, just because that is what I feel comfortable doing, I want to always be, that power should always be with me, is one of the very important things I have seen. But while I'm working with you, there is no sense of casual attitude towards the work itself. So while before the podcast, after the podcast, I'm working, my mind is always taking on the work that I'm doing. Experience helps. So in a way, I bring a certain sense of professionalism to what I pick up. I may not pick up everything that comes to me. Sometimes clients also refuse to work with me when they see that I have this kind of attitude. But because I'm from the creative field, I want that space. If that space doesn't happen, I'm unable to work. And I've tried not doing it. I've tried selling myself out and doing work that I don't like. बहुत अच्छा पैसा मिलेगा. I have realized पैसा अच्छा कभी नहीं मिलता. And दुखी होते हैं वो अलग. मतलब because you picked it up thinking you will become very rich at the end of this year. And on the contrary, when I work where I am in tune with myself and I'm attuned to the team, I make them also very relaxed. So if you work with me, now half the time you're trying to tell me get serious, stop cracking jokes. But I have this very keen sense that what we are working on is very important. So we do not need to feel very important. We have to relax, because that is how we'll give our best to the job that we picked up. The job itself is serious because you're creating communication for people. They are going to like, there are thousands and thousands of people who are going to watch the TV ad or the script that I'm writing or the copy that I'm writing or the communication you are creating as an event manager or something. Why do we need to get so stuck up in our heads that we are great? At the end of the day, we are not making Taj Mahal. मतलब कल सुबह सब लोग भूल गए होंगे, पेपर फेंक दिया होगा और भेल वाला यूज करेगा. However great our this is, उसका limitation वही है. This attitude kind of seems to help me, and I continue to, I guess, convince some people some of the time and confuse the rest of them. And money keeps coming. It's an energy that I don't think much about. I am very grateful when it comes to me. So now the reason why I brought this story up, one is to tell Meetal something about what you and I were talking about before she joined in. And the second is this question I want to ask you all. Starting with Bijal, because CA knows money more than anybody else. I trust my CA more than I trust my family. वो बोलता है ये नहीं करने का तो नहीं करने का, ये करने का तो करने का, खत्म. Then I think government भी कुछ नहीं कर सकता. मेरा CA ने हाँ बोला. So from that angle, how does a CA, I understand that you are a woman and you had this interest in education, but thoda loser kind of job, I just am using a term for what its impact is more than what I think about it. I was married to a teacher. I think ऊपर से भी मुझे मारेगी अगर मैं ऐसा कुछ बोल दिया तो. So how did this shift internally happen? Weren't you afraid? What was the thing? I'll come to Meetal also, but first you, because you are the one who's been the moneyed one among all of us, or so it seems.
So this is a very important question. Here, sometimes something drives you from inside.
Can you speak up a little? Your voice is a little low. No,
Is this better?
Yeah, now it's better.
Sometimes something drives you from inside, and for me, there was a need, there was a financial need. So I tried meeting the financial need till the time it was needed. I was never from a very upper class family. I was always a middle class or a lower than middle class family. So money इतना सा मिल जाता था तो I was like बस हो गया, इससे ज़्यादा की क्या ज़रूरत है. So when I became a CA, कुछ ज़्यादा ही मिलने लगा compared to what I was expecting, and it was too much for me. So lifestyle ना थोड़ा ऊपर चला गया. Then it was like it is not needed, करना क्या है इतना. And then I started figuring out कि if not this, then what else in life do I want to do? So that question was alive for a long time. That door was open for a long time. What on earth I want to do? And I happened to bounce into education. And वहाँ पे जो टेस्ट मिल गया ना, satisfaction का टेस्ट, वो फिर गया नहीं कभी. Even though I again joined back corporate, but वो जो टेस्ट है ना वो वापस सीख रहा था. So I told you I met Mr. 12 years before, but we started Bodhi Vidyalaya just 3.5, 4 years before. So बीच का जो पीरियड था ना वो लॉन्गिंग था.
Oh, wonderful.
था पहले वो वापस चाहिए था. So it is more about satisfaction that I'm deriving out of it. Yeah.
Okay. Mital, this is very interesting that Bijal thought for 8 years. But you are not very good at advertising, that can be seen. Out of 12 years, you took 8 years to convince her to join you in. What is your backstory in terms of education? You've been always motivated. You also mentioned that you were a mother for some time. So my question is a little different. My slant is, how do you gain confidence? Because there are a lot of housewives who responded to one earlier episode which I did, which was about housewives picking up work after a certain break. So I'm coming from that background. How do you manage to retain that edge in your head, which professional life requires? Women face this a lot. They take breaks because they want to take care of their family. They are there, and actually a Superman का concept should have just shown a normal woman. I think वो fit हो जाता. ये सब mask डालने की कुछ जरूरत नहीं, cape डालने की जरूरत नहीं. This is all bullshit. But they've been doing all of it with a lot of elan and a lot of everything, panache, whatever the words are. You manage things, you are not even bothered about any credit. Now women are waking up to the fact that don't talk to me like this. But yeah, okay, Bijal wants to say something on your behalf.
That's probably Superman, because women so every time super you work at it.
True. So how did you manage to retain your edge when you were not working? And what is the basic story? Where do you come from? Why education? What is it that you feel so strongly about?
It is more about, I always had curiosity in people.
Okay.
Now, how do we become what we become? That kind of curiosity was always there from a very young age. I used to love watching people on railway stations and airport, and it was my favorite thing. Even college से आते ना तो थोड़ा टाइम बेंच पे बैठ जाती थी, 2-3 ट्रेन्स जाने देती थी, just to see what is happening, how people are, what they want to do, and what would be their story, so that they are what they are. So that was always this curiosity was always there. It is like second nature kind of a thing, which was there, and that drove me to psychology. And I went into that field, and I worked and I worked with education. Coincidentally, that came to me first as a job opportunity or something. So I worked in education, and then I saw that lots of mess there. But there's no becoming there. There is just a box in which we are put into, and we have to manage in that box. We fit, we don't fit, it is too loose, it is too tight, whatever it is, it's your problem. But this is the box, and you have to have it for yourself, for life. So that was very sad. And I came across a lot of people who had different views, who were fighting against it, who were trying to work for it. And I was very fortunate to meet many people in this journey, and who helped me shape my views, my ideas, and so on. And there was a time when I thought, now I think I want to understand my own self first. And that's when I stopped everything, came back home. I was home, children were there, and that was my first opportunity to see, live how they are becoming. है ना, बचपन मतलब from zero, so to say. It was
Yes.
so, I was so intrigued by both my children, how they became what they became. And it was fascinating to see. I didn't have to do anything for them to become something. They already had a plan and they've equipped for it totally. And they'll keep unfolding each day. And the process will continue for them for life. And that was wonderful to see in that 6 years before we started Bodhi, to see my children. First child I thought, ha, sab children aise hote hain. Then I had another child and then he was totally different, and they both were different. Same environment, same treatment, same parent, genes, weens, so jo bhi bolo, sab same. But still they both were so much themselves, and it was
Yeah.
so wonderful to see just that. And then I said, this is what our children need, for them to be just be themselves. No box, no walls, nothing they need. They already have everything. And that's when me and Bijal again started, re-talking, and we did a lot of parenting videos at that time when we started off. We just didn't start off with school because that was a huge responsibility.
Yeah.
And I wanted to invest some more time with my children before I, go out and take on more. So we did a lot of parenting videos and all. And then from there, we started working with parents directly in form of workshops and things like that. And then parents said, ये तो आप बात करते हो लेकिन असली में ऐसा कुछ होता नहीं है, मतलब real life is different and your life is different. But then we were breathing the same air at the end of it. So how can it be different? So that's when I said it's time. Bijal literally forced. I can say that instead of somewhere we both wanted to have a school, but I wanted little more time before I step in. But then literally we decided overnight kind of a thing. कि ठीक है चल चालू करते हैं, and it all happened. So basically, I'll say that my children were maybe the motivators for me to be, so to say, on all polished all the time. And I was anyways very curious to see how they are growing up. And I wanted to see कि मुझे कुछ impression नहीं देना है मेरा, फिर देखती हूँ कैसे कर लेते हैं. मैं नहीं करूंगी तो कैसे करेंगे, But I saw कि मेरी जरूरत ही नहीं थी. So that's how the whole thing panned out for us.
Vijal, one little question. My observation was that she's talked about observation without using the word very often. 3 घंटा जाके या 3 ट्रेन मिस करके स्टेशन पे बैठे रहना. Advertising people, initially when I joined, this was the thing. You wanted to know all the time what is it that people responded to. You were talking to them, like everything that came in the newspaper, every ad that you did was going to talk to people. So one small example was I translated some Hindi ad into English, word for word. It was very, in my eyes, very pathetic. मतलब कुछ नहीं है चलो. और तब I used to make 650 rupees, 200 रुपए मिले थे translation के. So that was a lot of money. So I said, अरे ये तो बहुत पैसा है. अच्छा है, ट्रांसलेशन में तो क्या करना है, वर्ड टू वर्ड लिखना है, कुछ सोचना भी नहीं है. And then when I went to collect the money, the client said that the ad had sold 20 truckloads of rice. And I wanted to like fall on my chair, because till then I was like one of these ऐसा कि हम लोग बहुत एकदम airy fairy चीजें लिखते हैं और लोगों को क्या फर्क है, उठा के फेंक देते हैं. There is nobody who responds to this. But just the fact that, oh, there are real people dealing in real businesses and real issues, that they respond to whatever I am doing here. So that whole responsibility came to me, okay, in my head, from now on, you have to take every word seriously that you write, because it's not one more thing that you're doing. Like this is like good business. मतलब 200 रुपए कहाँ और 20 truckload of rice कहाँ, और मतलब तुमने कुछ किया भी नहीं. But there is a power to the medium. You have to use it responsibly. And after that, I started studying people a lot more. There was this beautiful book called Man Watching by Desmond Morris, if you are aware, on body language. So all of those things. And then friends, we used to go for a movie and we'll watch this guy and girl are fighting. Why are they fighting? Are they lovers? Are they friends? Are they waiting for someone? Is one of them late? And you're just watching very little nuances of body language, what is happening. What is it that we respond to? What stimuli works? Although I was only intending to sell, ऐसा कुछ बहुत बड़ा अच्छा इंसान बनने जैसा कुछ आइडिया नहीं था. It was just कि इसको बेचना होगा तो कैसे बेचेंगे, ये पर्सन किस स्टिमुलाई को रिस्पॉन्ड करता है. So this observation, when she mentioned this in the aspect of sitting at home and watching her children, this is very rare. Like I've heard a lot of things and I know there's no bad mother, but I'm saying there are a lot of good mothers which have like schedules and disciplines and they know how to go about things. They try to do their best for their kids in every way possible without indulging them. सारी चीजें जो होनी चाहिए, कभी-कभी लगता है as a parent क्या responsibility. But she was sitting and watching. Now that, वो तो कोई parent इतना free मिला ही नहीं आज तक कि वो तो observe. You are always busy. So what do you have to say about this aspect of using observation as learning, both as a teacher and as somebody who's benefited from it because your partner has been doing this and then you decided to join hands?
Yeah, this is observation. I just want to add little into observation. Observation without judgment is a highest level of thinking that one can have.
Very difficult.
Yeah. So as a teacher, I'll come to Mithil later. As a teacher in classroom, we all try to practice that. Keep observing because बुक में कहाँ ढूंढने जाएंगे कि ये बच्चा कौन है. बच्चा सामने ही है जिसकी किताब खुली है ना. You can really look at the child is a book himself. So that is one of the most important things which we've been practicing here in Bodhi. And J. Krishnamurti is one inspiration and Mithil is another inspiration for this kind of thing. We have been, whenever we have meetings, whenever we have our basic questions, what are our observations? What is it that we are looking at? What's happening right now around us? It is not only in surrounding, but sometimes what's happening inside us when we are observing something. So, personally and overall at Bodhi, observation plays one of the most important roles. And Mr. the way she has been observing her children, what she said, we were always in touch when she had her children and I had my children when they were pretty young. So we always were in touch, and whenever we discussed about things, I would share my observation with her that this is what is happening. And she was into education and the related field. She always had some perspective to it. Yeah. So that is how we connected more. That okay, this can happen and this can also happen. We need not be judgmental there. There are a lot of possibilities of this particular observation. So most of the time, the answer that used to come between each other was that we can observe a little more what's happening.
More than a doctor, I think a teacher needs patience.
True, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, one devil's advocate kind of question here. As parents, we are on the right track. I had a lot of problems. Initial few years, I think, till I met one teacher who worked with my kid on an extracurricular kind of learning through games kind of workshop. And she wrote some things about my kid that made me very happy. And she said, then I actually told her, I said, I am never happy about my parenting because I had certain issues. I had 2 patients in my house dealing with life-threatening diseases, and all the time went in, taking care of them in terms of everything. Both of them had brain-oriented diseases, so it wasn't easy in terms of managing them psychologically as well. So I always found myself feeling very uncomfortable about my parenting or the time I could give my kid. And she was what? From the time she was 3 or 4, she's seen this happen at some point or the other. Something kept happening, and I felt how am I dealing with it? I don't even know. And there are days when I've been angry, frustrated with my own lack of managing things because there is always something to do. You're always falling short. Plus, I wanted to try a lot of other therapies. Allopathy has not been a very favorite. This whatever experiments we tried with allopathy kept on backfiring. In terms of time which one gives kids, that was the first time when the teacher said, "No, you brought up a very good kid. She's very empathetic and she picks up challenges. Like she's a girl and she was put in an all boys group. Initially, she was reluctant. So she was told by the teacher, why don't you pick this up as a challenge? Although they were, 7, 8, and it wasn't like an age where one had to worry about things. So she grew in confidence. She made the teacher very happy. And the teacher wrote some things on her report card, whatever the kind of report she was giving at that point, which was like, I felt very good. And she said, no, you have a wonderful kid. I wish I had some more kids like her. Like everybody's so selfish and she's so selfless. She's always giving. And that was the first time I actually broke down. I was like, wow, okay, this is like luck by chance, acha parenting ho gaya. Because there was no time. You cannot forget observing or you observe, but you are observing to neglect it. Because if you give it time, then your patient is suffering or something in my case. So the only observation I had was about my patient, which was also not always without judgment. Sometimes you just fed up. Kab khatam hoga. So now question comes from that experience. How does a kid, how do you know that the kid is really responding to your quote unquote choiceless awareness is something somebody had called regarding spiritual this, but this is also almost you are aware what your kid is doing, but you are not imposing your choices of right now, just waiting. How does the kid respond? And can you give me an example where it worked, which you weren't sure how it would pan out? Neetal first.
Yeah. So it's a it's a long term thing. It's a journey. So it uh, it is difficult ki how will they think about it today. But yeah, most of the times they are happy about it. Yeah, but there are times when they get really frustrated. अरे भाई कुछ तो बोलो, I mean, say something. I need a solution, you know. Like once children were playing down with other children and they had a fight, and and my little one gave back. हाँ, तुम मुझे मार रहे हो तो I can also throw a stone on you, है ना? भले मैं छोटा हूँ, so I will not hit you, but I'll throw a stone. And then all the children came up. Auntie, ऐसा हो गया, वैसा हो गया. And typical me looked at Naman and said, okay, so what happened? And then he said, I know I should not have thrown stone, but this is what they did and this is what they deserve. I said, Acha. And then I didn't want to react and tell him what is right or wrong and you should not have done it and all that. And I left it there. This was evening. He again went back. They all played and they all came. They both the children came back in the evening, uh, and they had their dinner and we went on bed. So then when we were just about to sleep, he is saying, I know I did wrong. I will never do it. I said, okay. if that is what you feel. So he said, yes, I will never do it again. And I said, okay. And that was very beautiful for me. It was very touching for me. He, bhale us time jo bhi ho gaya, he did whatever he did, but he now has realized it is his decision and it is his own. So he's going to stick for life with that. I don't have to keep being a moral judge for him throughout his life. He can be his own moral judge. And that was very beautiful. And that I see for both my children. Like my elder one, she's now 10 and she has a friend which is not so great in the sense she uses bad words and all of vices and things like that at that age, And then she says one night, again, this all happens when we are about to sleep. She said, I know Sarah is not a good girl. Why don't you tell me that I should not play with her? I said, Acha, should I be telling you? I know you will not tell, forget it. But I know she's not a good girl, but she's the only girl right now. All my other friends have gone, so she's the only girl, and I'm going to play with her. I said, okay. Then she says, but I'm not going to become like her. I said, okay. She said, but you tell me, no, this is good. I said, you are feeling good, I'm feeling good. Matlab, I will feel good if you want to become like her also, because I trust you totally. And then she was like, okay, so jate hain. But I don't want to become like her. So that's the best gift that I have got in this whole process, that they don't need an external police. They don't need an external person to tell them what is right, what is not right, what to do, what not to do. And it is beautiful to see the relationships, where they can be friends with people whom they are not okay with. They have a judgment of elimination, what to take, what not to take. You know, that's so beautiful when you hear from a 10-year-old. Such an influential age. They want to abide to a group. They want to be part of the group, but they always know what not to do. So these in summers, because of the heat, no, there was this new shop which had opened in our area, which was an all AC superstore kind of a thing. Hmm. So all the children, after playing some time, would go into that store for AC. And this girl of mine would stand out of the store. She'll go with them, but she'll not get into the store. So, and then she would come and tell me after many days, every day they go and get into the store. I don't go. I'm like, okay, do you want to? No. Why should I get into the store just for AC? Agar mujhe garmi ho raha hai, I can come home. No. I said, okay. But how do I tell them that this is wrong? And then I said, what do you think you want to do? मुझे लगता है मैं डायरेक्ट बोल देती हूँ. मैं बोला ठीक है, फिर बोल दो. फिर उनको बुरा लगेगा, फिर वो मुझे निकाल देंगे, मेरे से बात नहीं करेंगे. तो I said, हो सकता है, बट जब तक करेंगे नहीं तब तक पता नहीं चलेगा कि वो क्या करने वाले हैं. लाइक हाँ, कल मैं बोल देती हूँ. ओके. Then next day they went to play and same thing happened, but she didn't say. मैंने आज बोला नहीं, मुझे ना बहुत डर लग रहा है, फिर वो निकाल देंगे तो you will come, you will talk to them. I said, see, they are not my friends. And this has not happened with me. So I'm not the right person. You are just the right person. Okay, I'll try tomorrow. I said, okay. And then the next day she told them, this is not right. We can go to the store if we want to buy something, but otherwise we will not go. If we are feeling hurt, we can go to my house and we can play there. My mom is okay about it. And then from that day, they have not gotten into that store.
Okay.
All of them. And it is so beautiful, to just know yourself. That is why I feel adults are not required to give their input. They are just required to witness what is happening and accept them the way they are, and they will know what they are to do. And that is wonderful. And I see that in school also. When you give any children little time, they turn around from their path. So that is very wonderful an experience for me personally.